Hi guys, welcome back to Father and Son Investing. In the last video, we discussed what is the best type of account to hold your U.S. Treasuries in. I'm talking about Treasuries, bills, notes, and bonds. The consensus for that was it's best to hold it in a non-taxable account, such as an IRA or 401k, although there can be some exceptions depending on your individual circumstances. Today we're going to go more in depth on this topic. We're talking about asset location, not asset allocation, but asset location. We're going to talk about what are the best type of investments to hold in an IRA account, and I'm going to give you one investment that you should never, ever, never hold in an IRA account. In order to lay the foundation for this, we'll talk about the tax treatment of IRAs, and we'll talk about how it's a good deal for the government there, not necessarily its citizens. And I'm going to give you 3 scenarios that'll help illustrate the point here that there can be considerable decreased taxes for you if you manage the location of your assets. So let's get started. All right, the basis for this discussion today is how IRAs and 401ks are taxed. You may or may not be aware that they are taxed as ordinary income, regardless of the source of that income. So whether you held equities in your 401k or bonds or some other type of investment vehicle, it doesn't matter. They all get taxed as ordinary income at your ordinary income tax rate at the time of your withdrawal. This actually will be the basis for what you should and should not put into your IRA or 401k account. I've come to realize during my study for this topic that this actually is a pretty good deal for the government, taxing IRAs and 401ks at the regular taxation rate versus the capital gains rate. For instance, in my 401k, I hold several equity funds. I have an S&P 500 fund, I have a mid-cap fund, I have a small-cap fund. All of those being equities would normally get taxed at the capital gains rate if I was holding them in my taxable brokerage account. But because they're in my 401k, when I go to withdraw that money, the government is going to be able to tax that money at my regular tax rate. Now, most of the time, that's actually probably going to work out in the government's favor, but there may be some times when it doesn't. Let me show you an example. This is a chart from Morningstar and a paper that they've written called A Guide to Tax Managed Investing. You can see several columns here. Over here is the income rate for these married filing jointly filers. You've got the ordinary tax rate, the long-term capital gains rate, and then the difference here. So we'll notice here that, for instance, at the 22% tax rate, normally those folks would be paying a 15% long-term capital gains rate. So the government actually is going to pick up an extra 7% in taxes on those equity funds that might be in your 401k or IRA. That's what I'm talking about, why it's a good deal for the government potentially. That being said then, what can we do to try to minimize the amount of tax that we're going to end up paying to the government? There's nothing wrong with paying taxes, but there's no reason to overpay your taxes either. So here we have multiple investment types that are best kept in tax-deferred accounts. For instance, at the top of the list here, we have high-yielding bonds and bond funds. Why is this the case? Well, as I explained in yesterday's video talking about U.S. government bonds, bonds are taxed, the returns on bonds or the yields on bonds are taxed at the ordinary income tax rate. So rather than keeping your bonds in a taxable account, it might make better sense to keep them in a tax-deferred account where you're going to end up paying the regular taxation rate anyway, with the hope being that in retirement your taxation rate will be lower and thus you'll be paying lower taxes on your bonds when they do get taxed. Next on the list here is multi-asset funds and target date funds. Now, why would these be in here? Well, it has to do with the turnover in the assets that these funds hold. For instance, in a target date fund, which initially might be designed to have a very high equity holdings and smaller bond holdings, over time those start to balance out. And in order to do that, they're going to be selling off a lot of equities, which can create more capital gains and thus paying more taxes on them. Next on the list here is high dividend paying stocks and dividend focused funds. Why is that on the list here? Well, these types of investments are designed to create a lot of dividends. And a lot of dividends in a taxable account in a taxable year can potentially generate a large tax bill versus putting those off again towards retirement when your income tax rate might be lower. Next on the list here is REITs, real estate investment trusts, and real estate investment trust funds. These type of investments are designed to produce a lot of dividend, which is great, but that dividend is taxed 80% at the ordinary rate, with the remainder being tax exempt. So potentially you could be getting a large tax bill if these are held in a taxable account. Thus, they're better suited for a tax deferred account. Next on the list here is convertible and convertible funds. These are funds that are designed to potentially roll over into stocks. So you start with a bond, and potentially that gets converted into a stock at some point. And when that conversion happens, it's going to get taxed at ordinary income tax rates. Since something's going to be taxed at ordinary income tax rates, we're going to push that over into the tax deferred account with the hope that it's going to get taxed at a lower rate in retirement. Last here on the list, we've got actively managed smaller cap and actively managed larger cap funds. The key term in here is actively managed. Anytime you see that, you can expect a whole bunch of turnover going on as that manager actively manages the funds, and as he keeps selling those things, you're looking at a lot of capital gains potentially. So all of these things are what are best kept in a tax deferred account. Now, I told you that there's one thing that you should never, ever, never keep in a tax deferred account, and that is municipal bonds and municipal bond funds. Why is that? It has to do with the tax treatment for municipal bonds. Municipal bonds are exempt from federal tax, and depending on the state that you purchase them for, they can be exempt from the state that you live in. So for instance, if you live in California and you purchase a California-based municipal bond or a municipal bond fund, you're not going to pay any California taxes on that. So you're getting a double benefit on the taxation. Now, the yields on municipal bonds generally are going to be lower because the bond distributors, the entity, the city or county or state issuing those bonds, pays a lower yield because they understand this favorable tax treatment. So if you put your tax-exempt municipal bonds into an IRA account, not only are you making getting less yield than you otherwise would on a bond, but you're also going to subject it to taxes when you go to withdraw that. Because remember I said IRAs and 401ks are taxed at your ordinary income tax rate regardless of the source of those gains within your IRA or 401k. So never, ever, never put tax-exempt municipal bonds and municipal bond funds into your IRA. It just does not make sense. Now, I'll try not to belabor this scenario for the sake of time on this video, but just understand that we're going to start with $100,000. It's going to be split between a taxable account and a tax-deferred account. And it's going to get prioritized based on the growth of the taxable account, based on the growth of the tax deferred account, or just kind of as a balanced growth here. So you'll see that the difference is the way it gets split: 50,000 in equity versus 42 in equity, and 8,000 for the taxable growth prioritized. You can look at the remainder of the numbers here. Just stop the video and you can see that. I want to give you some examples then of what your account might look like as it goes over time. I left out that these accounts were designed to decrease the amount of equities within your account over time and increase the amount of bonds as would be expected for someone approaching retirement. So for instance, the taxable growth prioritized, you can see here, I'll let you stop the video and look, but in red would be the bonds, in dark blue would be your tax deferred equity, and you can see the rest of the numbers here in terms of what your account might look like. This is what your account might look like over time if you are prioritizing tax deferred growth. And this is what your account might look like over time if you were using the balanced approach. All right, let's get down to the numbers. After all of these years of being invested in the taxable account for tax growth prioritized $663,000, for the tax deferred prioritized $300,000, and for the balance $400,000. You can see the numbers here for the tax deferred. Let's get over to the total here. $1,050,000, $1,038,000, $1,041,000. Those numbers aren't all that much different, but this is before taxes. Keep that in mind. Now let's look at the balances after taxes, and we'll start to get a feel for the magnitude of prioritizing the asset location. After tax, $917,000 for the taxable growth prioritized. This was the account where they were putting equities here in taxable growth prioritized, with bonds filling up more of the tax deferred account as time went on. Let's look at the tax deferred growth prioritized. There's only $870,000 after taxes, so a $47,000 difference. That's almost a 5% difference if you're looking at it this year. And then in the balanced account, you're doing a little better, but still significantly less than the tax growth prioritized, and that is $892,000. So by using asset location, keeping the right type of assets in the tax deferred account, keeping the right type of assets in the taxable account, you can save a significant amount of taxes. All that money goes to you instead of the government. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and talk about what types of investments then are best kept within a taxable brokerage account. If any of this was useful for you, please give us a thumbs up. And until next time, enjoy your investing.